We're closing a loan today that was denied not once, not twice, but three times by the builder's lender, the builder's preferred backup lender, and the realtor's preferred lender, all because none of those loan officers speak mortgage. They don't understand how loans work. And that is unfortunately a super, super common thing amongst loan officers, which I know is crazy to say, but most LOs just don't understand how to speak the language. I'm going to explain to you how we got this buyer qualified and explain how working with a loan officer and working with a lender that speaks mortgage indisputably valuable to you as a realtor, buyer, builder, whoever. So this buyer is a VA buyer, veteran, using a VA loan, and he's a manual underwrite. We're not getting a approval, so we have to manually downgrade the file. And with any manual underwrite, there are additional rules, additional things that the lender has to do or show or document, depending on the situation. And with a VA loan, one of those things is that the borrower is not allowed to have any collection payments, anything that went to collection within the previous 12 months. And unfortunately, this buyer has two accounts that went to collection in the previous 12 months, both in December of 2025. And so all three of these other lenders looked at that and they said, I'm sorry, you just don't qualify. We were fortunately given the opportunity to speak to this buyer. And there was a few things that came up right out of the gate. The first one is I looked at his credit and just kind of understanding how credit operates. A few bells went off, a few red flags went off because these accounts, they were opened and went to collection in the same month, which is just a little odd. It's not really how credit behaves. Usually there's a period of time with late payments and things before something goes to collection. So it was very odd to see something opened, go to collection within like a 10-day period. That was just really odd. Furthermore, I knew how to open up the trended data. So with the trade lines, if you know how to do this, you can actually expand the trade line and dig into the details of that collection or that account or whatever it is. And the trade lines, the trended data of the trade line showed that during that month, there was never a scheduled payment. There was never an actual payment. There was never a payment made. There was never a past due balance. There was nothing. There was literally zero activity. Yet it was opened and went to collection within a very short period of time. So again, that was a red flag. Bells are going off if something may not be correct here. So I called the buyer. We have a conversation. And long story short, turns out that these collections were actually from loans taken out in 2022. And at some point, they came off of his credit. And what we think happened was that they were probably repurchased by a collection agency, which is why they repopulated on the December 2025 statement. And so what appeared to be a collection from 2025 was actually a collection from 2022. And all that data led us to that conclusion. And going back to the VA manual guidelines, because they were collections from more than 12 months ago, the buyer now qualifies. So simple questions and understanding how to speak that language is critical. And it was that little intuition, that little bell that goes off in your head. You see something that doesn't look quite right because we speak that language. That little whistle went off, which allowed us to ultimately qualify a buyer that three other lenders said was impossible to close. So if you're working with a VA buyer, VA is an incredibly flexible product. There is so much you can do with it, but you do have to be working with a loan officer that understands how to speak that language because it is a language in itself. So if you have any questions, I'm always happy to provide tips and tricks and kind of just, show how we do things. But there's a lot to learn and there's a lot out there and we love doing it. So if you have any questions, I would love to answer them for you.